morning. My name is Pradeep Akanur and I am a professor at Shinawatra University, and I'm teaching this topic of business plans. Now, business plan is your plan of how you are going to prepare for your business and how you are going to execute on the plan for your business. In this presentation, I'm going to show you a simple business plan pitch which has been used in the real world, in the real life, by a company called Square, which is now a multi-million dollar generating company. And through this example of the pitch that they have used to raise investment, we will look at how other companies can also use a similar format in terms of presenting a business plan pitch. Um, the first slide is the one that explains the concept of your business. So basically you need to explain what is your product and what is the compelling value proposition of your product, what is the problem that your product is solving. So the product that they have chosen is something that is very similar, as you can see from the picture here, is that they have created a mobile phone swiping device by which you can, it's basically a card reader that you can attach to your mobile or iPad and then scan your card. So it's a very simple device that you can put on your mobile phone and then you can scan. So what is the problem that they are solving? Most of the mobile phone card readers or credit card readers are very bulky, and you see them in the stores. It's not very mobile and not everyone cannot use them conveniently. So by coming up with a device which is very small and easy to use and portable, they would be able to increase the usage of credit card, and small producers can easily use the credit card. So in this they explain the summary of their business, that they have a huge market opportunity in mobile payments, people starting to pay by mobile, and they have a management team, and they have good revenue generation, strong revenue generation model, they have strong execution strategy and a high future valuation. So let's take a look at how you need to. So in the first slide you are basically explaining the summary of your business to capture the interest of the investors. In the next slide you move on to the management team, who are the people, and you introduce your management team to the investors. So basically you show that the team has the background and a proven track record and a vision to succeed. So what you are trying to show here to the investor is that you have a team that is capable of executing on the business plan. In this slide you can see that there are examples of the background of the people with very strong uh, capabilities. There's people who have done excellent um, exits in technology. Co-founder and the CEO, he was chairman of Twitter and advisor of Ustream. So all the big names are there, as well as the companies or the brands that they have worked with. Now, for any product or a service, you need to establish that there is a huge market or the market is growing very fast. Okay, so that is extremely important. You need to convince your investors that this is a business which is completely worth investing because it's a huge market. So in this particular case, you can see from the slide that it's a growing market which is projected to grow at a very fast rate, a compounded annual growth rate of almost 15%. So that is something that you need to show in your presentation and the plan, that you have a market which is growing, number one, fast, and number two, it is sizable. It should be a big market. So in this slide you can also see that there's small information about the market opportunity also. Next, you have to focus on the product. So what is the product and how is the product better than your competitors? So it's extremely important to convince others of the superiority of your product. So in this slide, as you can see, that the square um, shows how their product and what are the product features which are there. In terms of the consumers, how does your product solve the problem? In terms of the customer, so customers may not uh, may want to pay by card instead of paying by cash, even when they are shopping for some small stuff. And from the vendor side, small businesses, they want to have something that is portable. For example, you have a small pop-up store where you are doing something and then you want to use the credit card, right? So normally right now you have to use a very big machine. They are solving this by presenting a small machine. So in the product slide, you are trying to establish the superiority of your product. Then you have to communicate the value to the user. People buy anything for either an economic benefit or an emotional benefit. You need to quantify and show the benefit. So in this slide, as you can see, that they show you Square offers the simplest and the most compelling way to accept credit cards. So it becomes very clear of why someone needs to be using a credit card. So similarly, when you are presenting your business, you have to explain very clearly of why some user has to use your product. How is it better? What is the value that you are communicating to the user? So this should be clear by a presentation. Um, so next, we talk about the process of customer acquisition. Now, once you have convinced the investors of uh, the need for your product, what problem you are solving, a fast growing market and a market which is sizable. Once you have convinced them, now you need to talk about your execution. How are you going to acquire your customers and how are you going to retain them? So this slide basically talks about what kind of marketing strategy they have. You can see the key selling points and the advertisements that uh, Square is going to do. Similarly, you can see what customer groups they are targeting. So in this slide of customer acquisition, what you need to show is that number one, how are you going to get those customers? How much are they going to pay per month or per unit, and how frequently they would use your product? So all these things needs to be covered in the customer acquisition slide. And you can see from the Square slide that they have clearly identified their target customers and what message and what channels they will use in order to reach their target customers. Now, next is extremely important, which is to justify how you will compete in the marketplace. Every product, every service is competing against similar product or a service. So you have to justify to the investors that how are you better than your competition. So in this particular case, you can see that Square has outlined their direct competitors which are competing right now in the space, and they also have identified the future competition. In addition, you also have to mention that what is the unique selling point or unique competitive advantage that others cannot easily copy. What will stop others from entering into your space? So that is something that is shown um, by Square in this slide. Next, we will look at the financial model and projections. Now, you have to remember that first you have to convince the investors on the product viability, on the need of the product, on a fast growing market. Once you have been able to convince them of all these factors, then the financials come into play, which is how can you make money, whether it is worth investing, and what would be the valuation of the company. So the financials always depend on how convincing your marketing and operations and the team plan has been. Now in this slide, the financial model and the projection uses some real data and then some projected assumptions. So you can see that again they show that the company is going to grow very fast. By end of 2015, they expect to be processing almost 49.5 million US dollars per day. So they expect to grow to a very large company, and that is what is coming out from this particular slide. So in this they are showing their annual revenue, they are also showing their margins in each transactions, um, and the gross margin, as well as the IRR, which is the internal rate of return. So as compared to investing in some other company, what is the projected returns and what are the exit options for the investors. So the financial slide makes it clear that again you are a fast growing business with a lot of potential to generate cash for the investors. Next, you have to explain what is the need for the investment and where you are going to put your money into. So in this particular slide, you can see that Square has asked for an additional investment at this particular stage. They have already raised some initial funding, and then they want to grow faster and into a bigger company, and that's why they are justifying the requirement for an additional funding. In this, they clearly um, mention that they need to grow fast in order to maintain their competitive advantage and first mover advantage. They were one of the early movers in the credit card swipe space, so they want to maintain that and grow very fast, and that's why they require cash to expand quickly, and they are raising about 27.5 million US dollar. So at any stage for your business, you have to justify that why do you need the cash and why do you need it now, and what are you going to do with that cash. So that is extremely important. So the last slide is about the exit strategies for the company. So how does an investor, once he has put money into the company, get back his money? So the investors are looking to make multiple uh, returns on, or high returns on their investment. uh, Investors get their money back in two forms. One is it could be dividends, but dividends tends to give back the money in a very slow way. So what they are looking for is also the potential for earning high returns in the form of exit through another company. So another company buying your company is a way in which the investor will make more money out of his business, and the other is to go for an IPO, list the company onto the public markets. In this slide, Square has clearly identified who are the potential companies that are, or that could be interested in buying the company. So who are the potential potential acquirers for the company? These could include Google, Verizon, or Visa, different types of companies, and therefore the investor is likely to get a high payout once they invest into the company. So for your business, you have to think that how are you going to grow or exit out of the business, how are you going to pay back the investors, whether it's only through the dividends, or you have some plans for a trade sale for the company, or for listing in the stock market. So that will give the investor the confidence to put money into the company. So to sum up, a business plan is a vision of your company, a way in which you are using to convince your investors about the viability of your business. So it's very important that you present in a logical way, which includes information about the market, information about your product, information about your competition, and then finally the financial returns of the company. So with this, I would end my presentation. I hope you enjoyed the pitch.